Black strong and gay. The fitness truth America wasn't ready for. For decades, America celebrated black bodies for their power, but only on its own terms. Strength was praised as long as it stayed silent, rigid, and predictable. What happened when black athletes and fitness icons refused that script? This video exposes a truth. The fitness industry wasn't ready for power, doesn't disappear when identity becomes visible. It evolves. These men didn't just train their bodies, they challenged an entire culture's definition of masculinity and strength. Stay with us as we uncover the stories behind the physiques. And before we begin, subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence because real strength deserves to be remembered, not erased. Simeon Panda. Simeon Panda emerged in the early 2010s as something the global fitness world rarely saw at the time. A black man with a classic symmetrical physique who did not rely on shock value controversy or extreme bodybuilding theatrics to command attention. Standing over 6 feet tall with a naturally aesthetic frame, Panda built his reputation through discipline, consistency, and a relentless commitment to natural training. In an industry long dominated by chemically enhanced physiques and narrow ideals of masculinity, his rise represented a quiet disruption. He wasn't just lifting weights, he was lifting expectations of what black excellence in fitness could look like on a global stage. As his following exploded into the tens of millions across social platforms, Simeon Panda became more than a fitness model. He became a cultural reference point. He consistently used his visibility to promote mental health awareness, self-respect, and inclusivity, publicly supporting LGBTQ+ communities through campaigns, interviews, and partnerships centered on equality rather than provocation. This stance carried weight. Historically, mainstream fitness culture, especially male bodybuilding, has avoided open conversations about sexuality, often rewarding silence over honesty. Panda's approach sent a clear signal. Strength does not require hostility, exclusion, or fear of difference. Why do you think society still struggles to separate physical strength from outdated ideas of masculinity? What unsettled traditional critics wasn't controversy, but contradiction. Panda embodied power while rejecting the idea that masculinity must be aggressive or emotionally closed off. His physique reflected golden era aesthetics, yet his values aligned with a modern understanding of identity, mental health, and community responsibility. For many American viewers raised on rigid images of black masculinity, this created discomfort. The fitness world had long celebrated black bodies for dominance and endurance, but rarely allowed space for nuance. Panda quietly proved that discipline, empathy, and progress could coexist without weakening physical authority. Simeon Panda's impact is not defined by labels, but by expansion. He did not challenge the industry through outrage or spectacle. He did it through consistency, excellence, and values that refused to shrink. By standing as a black fitness icon who openly supports inclusion, he helped normalize a truth. America wasn't ready for, masculinity is not fragile, and strength is not diminished by compassion. His legacy continues to influence a generation that trains not only to look strong, but to live honestly. Forcing the culture to confront a final question it can no longer avoid: if strength can look like this, what excuses remain for misunderstanding it? Laith Ashley. Laith Ashley's presence in modern fitness culture represents a break from nearly every rule America once enforced about strength, gender, and black bodies. As a black transgender man, Ashley did not emerge from traditional bodybuilding circuits or competitive stages. Instead, he carved space in an industry that historically erased people like him altogether. His physique, lean, powerful, and disciplined, was not built to shock, but to exist unapologetically. At a time when fitness media still clung to rigid binaries, his body alone challenged long-held assumptions about who strength was allowed to belong to. When Laith Ashley appeared in major campaigns for Calvin Klein and later in the pages of Vogue, it marked a cultural shift few could ignore. These weren't token appearances, they were statements. Ashley trained with the same intensity, nutritional precision, and mental discipline demanded of elite fitness models, refusing the narrative that transgender bodies are fragile or incomplete. His visibility was not built on spectacle, but on credibility. He showed that physical excellence does not require conformity to outdated definitions of masculinity. What made Ashley's rise uncomfortable for many viewers, especially older American audiences, was not his physique, but what it symbolized. For generations, Black strength had been framed as something fixed, often tied to dominance and silence. Ashley disrupted that idea by pairing physical power with emotional honesty. He spoke openly about identity, discipline, and self-respect, reframing fitness as a tool for survival and self-definition rather than approval. In doing so, he exposed a deeper truth. The discomfort people feel often reveals the limits of their own definitions, not the limits of the body in front of them. Laith Ashley's impact extends beyond fashion or fitness trends. He helped force a long-overdue reckoning within the wellness and strength industries, one that asks whether strength is about controlling others or mastering oneself. His body tells a story America was not ready to hear, that blackness, queerness, and physical power are not contradictions. They are realities that have always existed, simply denied space. And as his influence continues to grow, one question remains unavoidable. If discipline, resilience, and strength look like this, how long can old myths about masculinity survive? Jamal Sims. Jamal Sims built his body in spaces most people never associate with strength training: dance studios, rehearsal floors, and stages where endurance, precision, and control are tested daily. As a Black dancer, choreographer, and fitness trainer, his physique was never about bulk or intimidation. It was about functionality, expression, and survival in an industry that demands physical perfection while often denying performers full humanity. From early performances to major film and television projects, Sims treated the body as both an instrument and a statement, proving that strength can be fluid without being fragile. As Jamal Sims rose to prominence, working with global artists and shaping some of the most recognizable choreography in modern pop culture, he also became openly gay in an environment that historically pressured Black men to compartmentalize identity. Dance may appear expressive, but behind the scenes it can be brutally conservative about masculinity and image, especially for Black men. Sims refused to shrink himself to fit expectations. He trained relentlessly, maintaining a powerful athletic frame that supported long rehearsal hours while publicly embracing authenticity and visibility. What unsettled traditional ideas of fitness was not Sims' sexuality, but his defiance of rigid categories. He challenged the belief that strength must look aggressive, silent, or emotionally restricted. His body told a different story, one shaped by balance, rhythm, flexibility, and control. For many older American viewers raised on narrow definitions of Black masculinity, this created friction. Yet Sims's career exposed an uncomfortable truth. Dancers often possess elite-level conditioning, mental toughness, and injury resilience comparable to professional athletes, even if their strength doesn't fit bodybuilding stereotypes. Jamal Sims's impact reaches beyond choreography credits or sculpted aesthetics. He expanded the definition of what a strong Black body can represent, showing that power can be expressive, that masculinity can be multidimensional, and that visibility does not weaken authority. By merging fitness art and identity, he helped dismantle a long-standing myth America wasn't ready to confront: that strength loses value when it becomes visible, joyful, or honest. His legacy leaves a lasting challenge for the culture if the body can be both powerful and expressive. What outdated rules are we still holding on to, and why? Dylan Burnside. Dylan Burnside's physical presence was never accidental. It was built through discipline, structure, and intention, long before audiences met him on screen. Raised with a deep understanding of performance and resilience, Burnside approached fitness not as vanity, but as preparation. His body became a tool strong enough to endure demanding shoots, flexible enough for performance, and controlled enough to communicate emotion without words. In an industry that often reduces black bodies to stereotypes, his commitment to training reflected a deeper desire to own how his strength would be seen and interpreted. When Dylan Burnside appeared in pose, his physique stood out not because it was exaggerated, but because it was intentional. Lean, athletic, and clearly earned his body challenged a long-standing contradiction in American media. Black queer men were rarely allowed to be both physically powerful and emotionally complex. Burnside didn't ask for permission to occupy that space. He trained consistently, maintained strict routines, and treated fitness as a form of self-respect rather than conformity. What made Burnside's presence unsettling to some viewers, particularly older audiences, was not his sexuality, but his refusal to shrink. For decades, black masculinity in American culture was framed as either dominant or diminished with little room in between. Burnside existed outside that false binary. He spoke openly about body image, mental health, and vulnerability while maintaining a visibly disciplined physique. In doing so, he dismantled the myth that softness cancels strength or that openness weakens authority. His body didn't contradict his voice, it reinforced it. Dylan Burnside's influence extends far beyond television. As an advocate for body positivity and black queer visibility, he helped reshape conversations around fitness and self-worth. He showed that training the body can be an act of healing, not just performance, and that strength is most powerful when it is honest. America wasn't ready for that truth that a black gay man could be strong without apology, visible without compromise, and disciplined without hiding who he is. And as his impact continues to grow, one question remains unavoidable: if this is what strength truly looks like, how much longer can outdated definitions survive? Alex Landy. Alex Landy's physical presence in fitness culture reflects a shift America long resisted acknowledging. As a man of Asian and black heritage, Landy grew up navigating multiple identities in spaces that often demanded clear, singular definitions. Fitness became a language through which he could assert control, discipline, and visibility without explanation. His men's physique style build, lean, balanced, and athletic, was shaped not for intimidation, but for precision. Every line of muscle reflected consistency rather than excess, offering a quiet rebuttal to outdated ideas about what strength is supposed to look like. When Alex Landy rose to mainstream attention through acting, his body quickly became part of a larger cultural conversation. As an openly LGBTQ+ actor, Landy existed in a space where masculinity, race, and sexuality collided under public scrutiny. Rather than soften or exaggerate his image, he leaned into discipline. His training emphasized mobility, symmetry, and endurance, the same physical standards demanded in men's physique competition circuits. In an industry where queer men were often desexualized or sidelined, Landy's visible strength disrupted expectations without needing confrontation. Why do you think society still struggles to accept strength when it comes from men who don't fit a single racial or masculine mold? What made Landy's presence unsettling for some viewers, particularly older American audiences, was the collapse of familiar categories. For decades, fitness media separated bodies by race role and stereotype. Landy represented none of those boxes cleanly. He was multi-ethnic, openly gay, physically disciplined, and unapologetically visible. His physique challenged the myth that masculinity must look uniform to be credible. Instead, he demonstrated that strength can be adaptable, culturally layered, and still unmistakably powerful. Alex Landy's impact is not defined by controversy but by normalization. He didn't demand space through outrage, he earned it through consistency and professionalism. By maintaining a men's physique aesthetic, while living openly, he helped expand fitness culture's visual vocabulary, proving that strength does not lose value when it reflects diversity. America wasn't ready for that truth that power doesn't come from fitting in, but from standing fully formed. And as more bodies like Landy's enter the spotlight, the question becomes unavoidable. How many limitations in fitness culture were never physical at all, but cultural? Joey Thurman. Joey Thurman's work in fitness has never been about chasing extremes or selling illusions. As a trainer and health educator, he built his career on evidence-based practices, sustainable movement, and long-term wellness rather than shortcuts. His physique, athletic, functional, and realistic, reflects that philosophy. In an industry often dominated by exaggerated bodies and unrealistic promises, Thurman positioned strength as something practical, the ability to move well, age well, and live without chronic pain. For many viewers, especially older Americans, this approach quietly challenged the idea that fitness must always look dramatic to be effective. As Joey Thurman became a recognizable voice in mainstream and digital fitness spaces, his focus expanded beyond individual transformation. As an openly LGBTQ+ trainer, he made a deliberate effort to speak to communities that fitness culture historically underserved, particularly LGBTQ+ people of color. His content emphasized injury prevention, metabolic health, and realistic training plans, countering a long-standing pattern where marginalized groups were either ignored or exploited by the wellness industry. By grounding his message in science rather than spectacle, Thurman redefined credibility in a space that often rewarded hype over truth. What unsettled some traditional audiences was not Thurman's sexuality, but his refusal to frame strength as punishment or suffering. For decades, American fitness, especially for men, has glorified pain, silence, and excess. Thurman rejected that narrative. He spoke openly about accessibility, mental health, and the importance of meeting people where they are. For LGBTQ+ individuals of color, this visibility mattered. It signaled that strength could be inclusive, informed, and compassionate without losing effectiveness. His body didn't contradict his message. It validated it, showing what consistent, sustainable training actually produces over time. Joey Thurman's impact lies in education rather than provocation. He expanded the meaning of strength by tying it to longevity knowledge and self-respect. America wasn't ready for that truth, that a Black LGBTQ+ trainer could challenge toxic fitness norms not by looking different, but by thinking differently. His work asks an uncomfortable but necessary question: if health, mobility, and honesty are the true measures of strength, why did the industry spend so long convincing us otherwise? Ricky Rebel. Ricky Rebel's relationship with fitness has always been rooted in performance rather than conformity. As a Black singer and fashion fitness icon, his body was never designed to disappear into the background. It was built to be seen, to move, and to amplify individuality on stage. Rebel trained for stamina, posture, and visual impact, prioritizing a lean, controlled physique that could endure rehearsals, choreography, and the physical demands of live performance. In an industry where Black male bodies are often boxed into narrow expectations, his approach treated fitness as an extension of self-expression. As Ricky Rebel became more visible across music and fashion spaces, he also lived openly as a gay Black artist in environments that historically policed masculinity. Rather than minimizing his presence, Rebel leaned into precision and discipline. His training emphasized definition, flexibility, and recovery qualities essential for performers who must deliver night after night. Fitness culture has long separated serious strength from style, but Rebel blurred that line. He showed that a body built for expression still requires rigor, sacrifice, and consistency. What unsettled traditional audiences, particularly older American viewers, was not Rebel's sexuality, but the confidence with which he merged strength and flamboyance. For decades, Black masculinity in fitness was celebrated when it appeared stoic and restrained. Rebel challenged that standard by embracing color, fashion, and theatricality without compromising physical conditioning. His physique didn't soften his image, it sharpened it. In doing so, he exposed a contradiction many were unprepared to confront: that the discomfort often lies not in the body itself, but in how freely it claims space. Ricky Rebel's impact extends beyond aesthetics or stage presence. By treating fitness as a tool for identity rather than approval, he expanded what strength is allowed to represent. America wasn't ready for that truth, that a black openly gay performer could be physically disciplined, visually bold, and unapologetically expressive at the same time. His career challenges a lingering myth that strength must be quiet to be respected. And as more performers redefine power on their own terms, one question remains unavoidable: if confidence and conditioning can coexist this fully. What outdated rules are still limiting how we understand strength? Prince Fielder. Prince Fielder's relationship with strength began long before fitness culture entered the conversation. As a former elite professional athlete, his body was once engineered for explosive power, durability, and performance at the highest level of American sports. Years of competition demanded relentless training, strict recovery, and mental toughness. When his playing career ended, the challenge shifted. Strength was no longer about statistics or trophies. It became about longevity, health, and redefining identity beyond the field. Transitioning into a fitness-focused lifestyle required discipline of a different kind, one centered on sustainability rather than peak output. As Prince Fielder moved into life after professional sports, he publicly embraced a more balanced approach to wellness while also voicing support for the LGBTQ+ community. That stance mattered. American sports culture, particularly among older generations, has long struggled with openness around identity and inclusion. Former athletes were often expected to embody tradition, not challenge it. By advocating for acceptance while reshaping his own relationship with fitness, Fielder disrupted the assumption that strength must remain tied to outdated locker room norms. His evolution showed that physical power does not vanish when empathy enters the conversation. What unsettled some traditional audiences was not Fielder's fitness transformation, but what it symbolized. For decades, black male athletes were celebrated for performance while being discouraged from expressing vulnerability or social conscience. Fielder's post-career journey challenged that pattern. He focused on health, mobility, and personal well-being priorities, often dismissed as secondary during competitive years. By openly supporting LGBTQ+ inclusion, he expanded the idea of leadership beyond the scoreboard, proving that influence does not expire with retirement. Prince Fielder's impact within this conversation is not about labels, but alignment. He represents a generation of black athletes learning to redefine strength after the cheers fade. America wasn't ready for that truth that stepping away from traditional dominance does not equal weakness. His fitness lifestyle underscores a larger message: strength evolves. It adapts to new realities, new responsibilities, and broader definitions of community. Derek Chadwick. Derek Chadwick's approach to fitness has always centered on ownership of body narrative and self-worth. As a black fitness model, his physique was built through consistency and intention rather than extremes. Lean, controlled, and visibly trained, his body reflects a philosophy that values sustainability and self-respect. In an industry that often pushes relentless comparison, Chadwick positioned strength as something personal, a daily practice rooted in discipline, recovery, and acceptance rather than punishment. As Derek Chadwick gained visibility online, his content stood out for what it refused to sell. Instead of promising shortcuts or unattainable transformations, he emphasized form, patience, and mental alignment. For a black queer man in fitness spaces that historically rewarded silence and conformity, that transparency mattered. His message challenged a long-standing pattern where black bodies were celebrated for aesthetics, while the inner work, confidence, vulnerability, and self-acceptance was ignored. Chadwick made it clear that physical results are inseparable from mental health and honest self-assessment. What unsettled some viewers, particularly older American audiences, was not Chadwick's training methods, but his refusal to frame strength as constant struggle. For decades, fitness culture glorified suffering and emotional distance, especially for men. Chadwick disrupted that narrative by acknowledging rest, self-compassion, and realistic expectations as part of discipline. His physique didn't undermine seriousness. It proved that balance produces results. In doing so, he exposed a cultural blind spot, that many misconceptions about strength come not from biology, but from belief systems passed down unchallenged. Derek Chadwick's impact lies in reframing what it means to be strong in public. He demonstrated that a black queer man can be visibly fit, openly reflective, and unapologetically grounded without sacrificing credibility. America wasn't ready for that truth that self-acceptance does not cancel ambition, and that confidence does not require erasing identity. His work continues to normalize a healthier definition of power, one built on honesty rather than fear, and on the understanding that strength grows when the body and the self are finally allowed to align. Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lewis approached fitness from a place deeper than aesthetics. As a black personal trainer, his work was shaped by transformation, physical, mental, and emotional. His physique was built through methodical training, recovery, and discipline, but his true focus was sustainability. Lewis emphasized functional strength, mobility, and consistency over extremes, understanding that long-term health requires more than short bursts of intensity. In a culture that often equates fitness with punishment, his approach reframed training as an act of self-respect. As Jamal Lewis lived openly as an LGBTQ+ professional in the fitness space, his visibility carried weight. Historically, black trainers were often boxed into hyper-masculine stereotypes, while queer identity was treated as something to hide. Lewis rejected that separation. He built trust with clients by centering honesty, mental clarity, and emotional accountability alongside physical results. His programs focused not only on changing bodies, but on changing habits, addressing stress, self-image, and motivation as seriously as reps and sets. What unsettled some traditional audiences, particularly older American viewers, was not Lewis's training philosophy, but the way it challenged long-standing norms. Fitness culture often rewarded toughness without reflection, especially for black men. Lewis disrupted that narrative by speaking openly about burnout, discipline, and emotional resilience. He made it clear that strength without self-awareness is fragile. His own conditioning reinforced that message: lean, capable, and sustainable, rather than inflated or extreme. The result was a model of masculinity that prioritized clarity over control. Jamal Lewis's impact lies in integration. He demonstrated that a black, openly LGBTQ+ trainer could lead with authority while embracing empathy, structure, and mental wellness. America wasn't ready for that truth that real transformation begins internally and shows outwardly over time. His work continues to expand the definition of strength, proving it does not diminish when it includes reflection and care. Instead, it becomes durable. And in a fitness culture still learning how to evolve, Lewis stands as evidence that the strongest bodies are often built by the clearest minds. Strength has never been a single story, yet America spent decades pretending it was. The men in this series didn't weaken fitness culture. They exposed how limited it had been. By combining discipline, visibility, and honesty, they challenged the idea that black strength must be silent, rigid, or confined to one image. Their bodies carried truth long before the culture caught up. Now the question isn't whether they belong in fitness history, but why it took so long to acknowledge them. At Legends of Black Excellence, we ask you this: was the real threat ever their identity or the fear of redefining what strength truly means?